Loading. All right, and it's up.
Right.
Great. All right, so the audience is in and we will be backstage. Thank you. Hey, y'all. What's up? So good to be here on a Friday afternoon with you. Hopefully you have a fan in your face, or you're eating ice cream or some nice cool ice water as the temperature gets hotter. Thank you so much for those of you who are here with us. I know that you could be outside somewhere. Hopefully you are outside somewhere with your phone chilling, but we are so glad to have you here. So let's get right to it. Today's Friday, and this is Fridays at the Fifth Long Distance. One day we're gonna have a little song, so it's coming. Don't worry about it. Let us know where you're coming in from. Drop it in the chat, whether you're beachside, on a couch, petting your cat. Let us know if you're here in Seattle or somewhere else. We love to know where you're visiting us from. Before we get started, let me take a moment to remember and remind us all that the Fifth Avenue Theater and the communities we serve are on the lands and waterways of the Coast Salish people, who have continuously inhabited our region since time immemorial. They are the original storytellers and theater makers of this place that we call home. We also acknowledge and honor the tribal nations across Washington state and the many indigenous people from across the country who also live and work in the Seattle area. As we step into this new period of the Fifth's history, we hope to honor their legacies and bring greater attention to their continued fight for equality and recognition. Additionally, I want to acknowledge the years of hurt and pain being relived by the Indigenous community as more and more bodies are currently being recovered from the sites of residential schools, and as open investigations begin into schools on soil known as the United States of America. I encourage all of us who are watching and listening to learn more about how we can support our brothers and sisters from the First Nations during this time. Let's quickly take a moment of silence for all of those children who are not here today. If you've been here before, you know that my name is Aviana Rodriguez Brown. I use she, they pronouns, and I occasionally tend to use we in reference to myself. I am the educational curriculum specialist here at the Fifth Avenue Theater. And today I have my hair in extreme curls pushed to the left, and I'm wearing my pink headphones along with a white and floral dress and a bloodstone necklace. I am Afro-Mexican, second generation Native Mexican American. Thank you. Now, let us bring on our student panelists for today. Please welcome Jolie Zamara. Jolie, how you doing?
Good. Hi.
Please introduce yourself.
Great. Okay, so hi, I am Jolie Zamira. My pronouns are they, them. I am currently, I have to look at myself first. I'm currently wearing like funky hair. I got like curls back. I have black eyeliner, white earbuds. I'm wearing a purple t-shirt, and I have funky color-coded books on a white bookshelf behind me. And yeah, so
what have you been doing during the pandemic times to sort of like get that creative juices out? What have you been up to?
I've been reading a lot. I've been writing. All of those things have just left my mind. I've been watching a lot of TV.
Are you streaming anything lately that we should know about? Anything you would suggest?
I mean, my parents and I really love Ted Lasso on Apple TV. Very good. It's very soccer related. So if you're into soccer or want to get into it, watch Ted Lasso. It's very good. It's very,
Hey,
very good.
there's a lot of us who are both
Yeah.
art and sports into both worlds.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure
I'm
that
one of those
someone out there will
people.
look at.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
are those your books behind you?
No, this is my dad's office. Yeah.
Well, when you mentioned it earlier, I was really interested in how it's all color coordinated, and I was just like, oh, it's so nice.
My bookshelf upstairs is color coordinated, but yes, I'm a trendsetter.
Nice, nice. Yeah, as a
Yay.
stage manager, that gives me such joy.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, another way that we like to get to know our panelists is to share a high note for the past week, something that has brought you joy or hope while, the state of our community and industry is still in the balance. So what is your high note so far this week?
Well, today I went to the beach with my mom because it is my first week of summer and I feel great. I've only got sunburnt once.
Wait,
Great.
you just got out today and you already got
Oh
sunburned?
no, that was a few
Okay.
days ago.
Okay, I was like, whoa, that's so fast.
Yeah, no.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's wonderful. Oh, I'm so jealous, and I hope that we all get some beach time. Which waters were you at?
We went beachcombing at Day Island in University Place, so Puget Sound, but
Yeah.
it was very fun. We saw a lot of crabs. Yes.
Perfect. Wow, that's wonderful.
It was very
Oh, I can hear the waves already, and that's not just the garbage truck outside.
fun.
Well, audience members, we want to know from you too. What is your high note for the week? Is anyone excited for this 100-degree weather that's coming? Anyone out there excited? I know a lot of us are very fearful. All the fans have been purchased. All the pools have been purchased. We're not ready. Seattle has never had the AC capacity for this, so it's just going to be very interesting what happens this weekend.
Yes.
Well, as many of you know, the Fifth Avenue supports this program and dedicates bringing together students who want to learn about the craft of musical theater. Whether you're just curious, deeply passionate about musicals, we want to empower the next generation, all of you, and give you a chance to interact with theater professionals who have dedicated their lives to this work. And that's what we're about to do. Even though we can't all be in the same room, I'm so excited to introduce you to not only a wonderful human being, but also a dear friend, Jasmine Joshua. Jasmine Joshua is the artistic director of Reboot Theater Company, whose mission is to test new interpretations of established work through non-traditional casting, design, and methods yet to be discovered. They're also an actor through many different companies here in Seattle, a director, associate director at Village Theater, assistant director here at the Fifth, and their solo show Breadcrumbs, premiered at Act Solo Fest in 2020, and they just performed it this past week. So they are currently workshopping their non-binary musical Here and There at Seattle Rep. Please check out their website and give us all a round of applause. Hi, Jasmine. Welcome.
Hi, friends. So good to see you. Hello. And those of you who I can't see, hi, too.
Yes, please introduce yourself and tell us, for those of us who aren't able to see you, tell us a little bit about what you look like.
Yeah, so my name is Jasmine Joshua. I use they, them pronouns. I have short hair that's kind of short on the sides and is valiantly trying to stay up despite the heat. And it's dyed red, a little auburn-y. Actually, I don't know what color that is, but you get the idea. I am flushed and glistening with sweat as I hunker down in my basement. So I have a dark background because I turn off all the lights in the hope that would make me feel cooler, but I don't think that's actually true. I have a black t-shirt on. You can see a couple guitar necks behind me and my keyboard. And it is entirely possible that a black cat will cross my path because I have 3 of them and they're very curious. So we'll see.
Awesome. That's wonderful. They may stay away because the computer might be emulating too much heat.
Honestly,
you know what I mean? Jasmine, what is your high note for the week? What have you been up to?
Yes. So, as you mentioned, I performed my solo show, Breadcrumbs, which is about me coming out as non-binary when I was 33. You know, basically, I came out and I was already an elder in the trans community, which is like a horrifying stat. And what that's like, and talking about gender, and I also, like, I have 2 kids, so, like, what is pregnancy, and what is, you know, what is it like to, like, come into a community that you never grew up hearing about, because back in my day, they didn't have words like non-binary. You were a man, you were a woman, or you were a trans man, or you were a trans woman, and those were it. That was your choice. And by choice, I use that term very loosely, because really, so I got to perform at Ars Nova, which is a theater in New York. They have a annual festival called the Ant Fest, and it's called ANT. It stands for All New Talent, and my show got in, and so I got to do it online. Instead of going to New York. So I had my New York debut in Seattle, which is fun. And it went really well. It went so well. I had such a good time. I did it literally in this room, in this basement. I was sitting in this chair. And I jumped on, there's like way in the back, I don't know if you can see, there's a bed behind me, and I like smuggled in a musician who like played piano, and I walked on the ceiling. It was great. I had a really good time, and may it be the last time I ever have to do this show digitally in my office. May the next time be on a stage in front of people.
Yes, I'm going to send you all that energy. May the next time be on the stage and redone in New York.
Yes.
On a stage, on Broadway, off Broadway, touching Broadway.
I love it.
I actually, in regards to Breadcrumbs, since we're already talking about it, let's stay on the topic. One of the things that really, and I have to say, anyone who's watching, if you get a chance to watch the show, please do. I got to see it in its earlier stages, and it's amazing. And I can only imagine that it's even more amazing now. But one aspect of the story is you're both physically and visibly both sides of the binary spectrum. One, how did you do that in your home? And 2, what has that really brought? How have you gotten to this point in your career, being able to tell your story?
So when I do my show, what Avi was referring to is that I paint my face. I kind of do it as my drag king character, whose name is Harvey Gent. It's a play on Harvey Dent, who was full Two-Face. Get it? Okay, so point is, half of my face I paint, quote, like a woman, and the other half of my face I paint like a man. So part of the gag and part of the play is that depending on which side of my face I'm telling it from, I can embody feminine or masculine in all of the great, in the drag. Yep, see, I knew there is a black and white cat who wants in. I knew it. This is Lumos. Lumos is great. Yeah, so like that play, most of it, you know, a lot of the challenge of translating theater to Zoom, because I don't know about the rest of everyone, but you know, I'm sure we've all seen at least one Zoom play in this last year, is that I think that one thing that I realized is that watching a video of a play is not the same, because there is so much distance. When you are the way back here, me having a connection with you through this screen, even though this distance in person is not that much, even with a cat in the way, when I'm up here, I'm right with you. And I can look you in the eye while I'm talking to you, which I rarely would do in a theater, because doing this in real life can be horrifying. Right? And so, you know, that kind of a play is what we wanted to like kind of marry. It's like, it wasn't a film, which is different, but it wasn't a live theater event, even though I did do it live. So yeah, it was challenging. It was hard. It's so hard because my show is also like, it's funny, and when you do it's physical, and it's physical. So like when I'd say a joke, like I had built these beats in to wait for audience response, and then I can gauge my pacing based on like, oh, they didn't like that, we're gonna move on, and I don't know. Or like, oh, they like that, great, let's dig in and let's like up it, and you can't do that here. So that was like the rub of it. It was a challenge. It was cool, but it was also like low key terrifying because you say like what you think is one of your greatest jokes, and you hear this. Which sucks.
Absolutely. Jolie, please, I know that you performed in our RSP program, but did you also do a performance this year for your high school?
I did not in the traditional sense. So I go to Curtis Senior High School. And we did not do our fall musical because that was we know what
Understood.
that was. And but we did do our one act play festival.
Nice.
Yeah, it was very fun. So they're mostly comedic. We recorded one, but we also got to perform part of it live because that was back in May.
Okay.
Question mark? Maybe.
What is time? Nothing.
So,
time means nothing to me anymore. So yeah, that was my first live performance in like a year and a half, and it felt fantastic to like actually like what Jasmine just talked about, of having like beats built in where people could actually laugh, and I could hear that laughter of like, oh my god, like the first time it happened I was like, oh, I'm back.
Give it to me.
Yes. And like it was outside, so every so often we'd have like cars or like a plane come by, and I'd be like, that's neat.
That's right.
Yeah, it was interesting. It was very fun though.
Okay, so we've had a range of performance this year.
Yes.
And one of the things that a question that we have is, how has your career led you up to creating Breadcrumbs?
Yeah. So I have a degree in creative writing, so I've always been a writer, and I have always wanted to be an actor, and I have always kind of been a clown. So truly, my director, Eddie DeHaze, came. Yay! We love Eddie. They are currently studying at Brown to get their master's in directing. Fancy, very fancy. But they were here for a while, and we were friends. Actually, before both of us came out as non-binary, so like we knew each other in the before times. And I have always just loved telling stories. Like I love telling stories, and I love, like at a party, like, I just like, you have those stories that you tell, like, tell about the time when, and I'm like, here we go. You have your set. And so Eddie, kind of knowing this about me, was like, you should write a solo show. Like, get a bunch of those shows together and write this show. And at the time that Eddie asked me to do that, I'd only been out for like 6 months. And so this show, much like my drag character, Harvey, was really a way for me to explore and feel safe in my transness, because when I came out, like, I had already had children. They were 3 years. I have twins. They were 3 years old. I was already married in what I presumed was a cis heterosexual marriage, and I had lived most of my life thinking that I was a cis woman and performing cis woman to the best of my ability, which was not great. Which is kind of what the show is about. It's like the things that I would do to force myself to feel like a woman, and how I kept trying. And, that pain can be funny when you're through it, right? And even though, like, there are painful moments that I still, like, God, how long? That was like 3-4 years ago. I'm still, like, working through some things, because I have to, undo 33 years of socialization, as soon as possible, ideally. So that's kind of what the show came out of. So, like, I don't know that, like, my career prepared me for this solo show. My life and what I love to do prepared me for this solo show, because unfortunately in theater, like, there isn't really a space for trans people. I mean, I could just end that sentence there, but like, we're getting to it now, but like, I don't know that in my career I could have prepared for my solo show. Like, there's really no place for me to have learned all of this. So I kind of made my own with Eddie's guidance and insistence, really.
That's really interesting, because combing through your website, there are a lot of what seem to be gender fluid pictures. So can you talk a little bit about, you were sort of there as far as like being trans in our industry, but how do you choose what to audition for?
Sure.
How do you actually know when to take those calls? And Jolie, feel free to jump in with any of your, yeah, okay, cool.
Yeah, so I was an actor before I came out. I was working before I came out, and most of the roles that I was seen for, because I am, you know, funny and voluptuous, were like character roles. So I was known as a character actor. So I'm like, all right, great. So I'm funny. Like, I'll never be beautiful. So I'll never be an ingenue. So I guess that's, and this is especially in musical theater. Like, my God, it's rough out there. So I was like, great. And because I am young for those character roles, who are usually moms or nurses or, you know, unsexy assistants, who probably are usually queer-coded. That's a whole other conversation. But that's kind of what was my niche. And so I actually, to be honest, when I created, so I'm the artistic director of Reboot Theater Company. I founded this company kind of in response to that, because I'm like, man, like, I'm in my from like my 20s into my early 30s, like, I have to wait until I age in to all of these, like, mom roles, who are really supposed to be for ingenues who've grown old. And I'm not an ingenue, so what, I gotta wait another, like, 10, 15 years before I'm allowed on stage? And the other thing is that it also depended on the male actor they cast, because if the male actor was younger, I would get cast, because they needed a younger character actor. But if the male actor was older, then and it was always dependent on the 5 men who would come out of these 30 other non-men who would come to these auditions, right? So I can hear my 6-year-olds who have discovered the drum set in the next room, so we'll see how that goes. So I created Reboot Theater Company because I was like, you know what? I want to be able to do way more than that. Even though those are fun roles and I like them, what else can I do? And so I started asking the question of, well, if someone who isn't that type plays that part, do we still get it? Like, does the audience still understand what's going on? Because that's ultimately what you want. You're telling a story, right? And you want to make sure that the audience, like, you're bringing them along on this journey. And my question was, like, if the storyteller changes, what else changes? And sometimes it really does. Sometimes it doesn't make a difference, and sometimes it really does. And isn't that interesting? And why does it? And how does it? And what can we do about that? So the first show that we did was 1776, and I did it entirely with all women at the time. A couple of us have come out since then, but at the time we all thought we were women. And we had a woman play Benjamin Franklin. And I still, to this day, I did that in 2015. I have the poster up there. I'm looking at just so you don't think I'm like talking to someone. We did it in 2015. I still get people coming up to me saying, you know what? After the first like 5 minutes, it didn't even occur to me that actor was a woman. And I was like, as far as we know, Ben Franklin was a white cis man. As far as we know. We'll just go with that, right? But you watched, clearly not a white cis man, play that part, and you're telling me that you still understood the founding of our country? You still understood it. We had all kind. It was not an all white cast because at that point, who the hell cares? Like, we knew what the story was, and we all told that story. We worked together as a team, and we told that story, and people understood it. And once I did that, I'm like, well, if you accept that Ben Franklin doesn't have to be a guy, well, what else? What else can we do? And that begat my theater company, and then, the reason why my show is called Breadcrumbs is because when I look back at my life, I see all these moments where I was like, oh yeah, I should have known then. All these breadcrumbs that lead me back to home, which is who I am, which is a non-binary person, right? And doing that show, and it took me a couple shows with my own comedy that I founded before I was like, oh, I don't, because I'm not a woman, and that's why this XYZ. And not only that, but I don't know that gender isn't even just about trans people. Gender affects everyone. Because there's no reason on earth why a man or a woman or neither can't tell any frigging story, because they're human stories. So that, that's my thesis, and we'll see. And sometimes I might fail, and that's okay too.
Man, that needs to be a shirt. Storytelling. They're human stories.
Human stories.
Oh, wow. Oh. I'm thinking back. I didn't know about Reboot that far back to its beginning, and I don't even think I was in Seattle at the time. But the last show that I saw of yours before the pandemic was Sweeney Todd, and Sweeney was played by non-binary actor Mandy Rose.
Yeah, Nichols.
Thank you. And you're right. It's interesting how the brain will allow you to accept the reality put in front of you, because that's the reality in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
And it really doesn't matter who's playing. Mandy did an amazing job.
Mandy nominated for a Gregory Award because they are great. But yes, exactly. I mean, who is Sweeney Todd? Sweeney Todd is a person who is falsely accused of a crime and put in prison and lost their family and comes back for revenge. Who the hell cares? Man, that is a meaty, deeply wounded person. And if you can play a deeply wounded person, then I'd like to see your Sweeney Todd. I'd like to see it. I did this I had a talk with some other kids, and one of the questions I asked them was what's a role that you think you'd never be cast as, but you really wanted? And this really sweet little kid, I shouldn't say little kid, I don't know, this kid was probably 14. I'm 36, so everyone's little. This 14-year-old young man said, the sweetest little face and little cherub hair, and was anyone who knows me knows that I'm really sweet and really kind, and if I've ever hurt you, I want you to know that you can come to me and I want to apologize. That's who I am, but I'd really like to play Sweeney Todd. And I was like, that's brilliant! Because you know what is scarier than someone who looks scary? Someone who doesn't! Isn't that a more terrifying villain? This sweet little face who's just hee hee. And I'm like, yeah, I would see that. You don't need to look with the dark eye. That's how someone did that. And that is a legit way. It is, my God. It is the original way that it was done. But we've seen it. We've seen it. And if you want to do it over and over again, you can. But there's no rule that says Sweeney Todd can't be a smiling, happy-looking, someone would be like, yeah, I'd love to give you a shave. Come on in. Oh, my God. Woo!
On that same tip, then what is our job as actors? How do we bring in and make those outlandish choices that don't really fit with us? How do we walk into the room and change the director's mind? Because I'm not going to lie, every director has their idea the minute they sit down with the script, because we're human beings. They read it. It's just like when you're reading a book, Jolie, right? It's just, you're reading it and your brain is painting this picture for you. So you automatically have ideas because of your experience, because of all of the things that you bring into the room. But how do we as actors walk into the room and change that person's idea of their world that they've mentally created?
It's a great question. First I'll toot my own horn. My favorite thing about Reboot, even though like I think auditions in general are like brutal and horrible, and like anyone who's like, I love auditions, like I just don't believe you. I mean, they're terrifying. They're terrifying. I hate it as an actor. As a director, like when you're behind the table, like it's long and exhausting, and it's pressure because you don't want to hurt anyone, and you're like want everyone to succeed, and it's like a whole thing. That being said, like I sit in on every Reboot audition, whether I'm directing or not. One, because like I just want to project like optimism and love, like just fill that room so that any fall is caught by just like a bubble of happiness. But also because at Reboot, I don't care what your type is. And I don't want to go, like I say to directors who come in, I'm like, don't think you know. Because you don't. You have no idea. Like this is for the directors. Like yes, actors can do things, but also any director who is watching, anyone who wants to be a director, do not, like, you could be like, look, okay, I'll get to like reasons why you might want to like have a preconceived notion in your head before you go in, but that's okay because as Avi says, like you're human, you're gonna be like, oh yeah, this makes sense to me. Like we knew there were certain things about Sweeney where like, oh, in order for our reboot to work, this is what we wanted to do to it. That's fine, but allow yourself to be surprised and delighted, because I have found actors who have not worked before and they were stars. And it was because I didn't look at them and automatically go, that's not what I want. Blah! Blah! Don't do that. No, directors. No. Verily, I say to you, no. Actors. I think that, like, it is a risk to go into an audition and do something totally wild. It really is. Because you don't know that the director or whoever's sitting on the other side of that table is... You don't know that they're game. And I get that. And there are definitely institutions in Seattle and abroad that are ready. And they're going to get ready because we're going to start populating them with more and more people who get it. And it's going to be great. But in the beginning, there are going to be people who are like, the Music Man looks like this. That's what it looks like. And if you don't fit that, I don't want to see you. And they will slowly go away like dinosaurs because that's just not what reality looks like. So I don't want to like shame actors for like wanting to figure out what their type is and learning that craft. I get it. I totally understand that. I'm a brassy broad whenever you need it, because that is what I will be cast as. And I'll kill it because I'm good at it, right? And I think that it's fun. And if you think that being an ingenue is fun or a leading man is fun, like, my God, do it. But think in the back of your mind, how can I be an ingenue but different? Because you don't have to be the same kind of ingenue. You don't have to be Sweeney Todd. Like, 14-year-old kid, as far as he could be cast as Sweeney Todd. But that little twist, like, that's not so wild. He doesn't suddenly have to want to be Mrs. Lovett. But, like, that little twist, like, that's so interesting. And it's one of those things where I would say, like, you can prep the traditional if you want, but I would say, like, one thing that, like, I would be interested, especially when you start to get into callbacks. In the initial audition, it's hard because they're just trying to get you in and get you out, right? But when you're in callbacks, if you want to say, like, hey, can I try something? Especially if you feel the vibe, like, ask. And they might say, you know what, we don't have time, but thank you. But they might say, yeah, go ahead. And then you've got something different, and you can try your Smiley Sweeney, or you can try your whatever. So I would say, like, have ideas, and then when you're in the part, when you've booked the gig, push it. Try it. Why not? Why not?
Funky.
Yes! Throw it in there. You're part of the equation. Like, you're not, this is, like, if people want to see the same thing over and over again, they can watch the movie. It will never change. The movie will be the same thing every time. Give it a shot. And again, the worst case scenario, the director will be like, no, I'm boring and I don't want you to make choices. And that's on them, not you. That's really mean. I love you directors, I do. But you know what I'm saying? Like, I want you to do it this way. And there might be a reason they're like, no, I need you to play it like this because we're going to do that later. So, like, sometimes there is reason why you don't get to do whatever you want. But to come up with those choices and to have those inside of you and to start thinking about how, like, so you're not playing like, I'm the hero. Well, what is a hero? They have a deep voice, and they're always like this. Like, we can all play that trope, but that's boring, and we've all seen it. And frankly, like, as artists, it's lazy, because you don't have to do anything. Because when I hear hero, unfortunately, because of the way society is, it's like, a white cis man who's handsome by Western standards, and probably blue-eyed. They can have dark hair. That's okay.
Hey, man.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I already can insert it. It's done. And if you look like that, you don't have to do anything. But that's boring and lazy, and you shouldn't do that.
Honestly, not exciting for you if you
No!
don't have to do anything new. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to. You don't have to do that. You don't have to, like, play,
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like I just ranted for a long time. I don't even know.
You've gotten snaps in the chat. You've gotten hell yes. You've gotten I believe in that. We're listening. We're eating.
Good. I was just like, but yeah, like I don't know. I just, one of the other things that I love doing as a character, especially like, I mean, this whole idea, like, there's no small roles. Like, I know that, like, that feels really annoying, but, like, truly, I love being in a big ensemble musical. Oh my god, it is so much fun. Especially if you're just not like, I walk in, I do my thing, and I leave. Like, oh my god, there are bits. There's always bits.
There's always bits.
There's always bits!
Yeah. One of my favorite roles was playing a hunch in Seussical when I was like 12.
Right?
I got flowy hands and a funky mask. It was fun.
It's fun, and you can start to, like, I mean, don't waste those kinds of opportunities to think of yourself, like, don't think of yourself as set dressing, because that's easy. You can do that. Sure, of course you can. But you can also come up with some bits, and people are going to start to be like, oh my god, that was a funny bit. And, the director's job is to be like, all right, that was funny, but, like, we need to hear them talk. You know what I mean? Like, you will be checked if you need to be checked. But part of your job is to play. And you should. And I think that, so when I do shows at Reboot, I have to ask the licensing houses if I'm allowed to change the genders of characters. Otherwise, if the playwright, if they are living, or if the foundation of playwright, if they are dead, if they don't like it, they can pull the rights to my show. So I always, it's like absurd, right? But I had to ask if Sweeney Todd was allowed to be played by a non-cis man. I had to ask. We cast Anthony with a woman. I had to ask if it was okay for Anthony to be played by a woman. The Beetle was I had to, so I did. I do it at the top of every show, and I do it for one of two reasons. One, I don't want to get shut down because we can't afford that. And two, I always ask because even if they say no, I want them to hear me ask. I want them to have to say no to me. And I want the playwright and the Playwrights Foundation and the licensing houses to, one, see like there is a demand. People will rent more of our shows if they can cast different kinds of people in them. And I want you to notice that you will lose money because people won't rent from you if you don't let us use your show. And then no one will see your friggin' Oklahoma again. So get with it.
And honestly, who doesn't want to see a non-man Sweeney Todd? That sounds amazing.
It was great. We had such a good time. It was wonderful. I mean, like, truly. And honestly, it was a very, we said it in modern day, and we had, like, some fun cell phone stuff.
They
It
had
was
cell
fun.
phones.
It was great.
Amazing.
But, like, for the most part, it was a pretty traditional Sweeney Todd. We didn't like make it so weird that people were like, I don't get it. People got it.
Yeah.
People nobody left. They might not have agreed with, because it's Sondheim and people are purists, and I get it. That's fine. And they can go and watch Angela Lansbury and Lenz, whatever his name is. People are gonna get mad at me for not knowing that. Sorry. They can do it. There's video of them. Go on. They did a great job. They're almost definitive. But we tried something else. But nobody left that theater going, I didn't get it. They just might have been like, yeah, I wish that they had been in Victorian gowns or whatever. I miss the top hats. Okay.
They're funky.
They're great. I'm pro top hat. So like,
Fantastic.
yeah, but like, nobody didn't get it. Nobody didn't understand that Joanna was being kept against her will and locked in a cell and being forced to marry an older man and had to be rescued. That didn't matter. We had a black woman play Joanna, and even though the friggin' lyrics say corn yellow hair, no one was like, wait a minute! She actually did put in blonde, but locks, but whatever. The point being, like, nobody was like, what? I don't get it. Nobody. Because she sang Green Finch, like, damn, Cammie Smith, ladies and gentlemen.
So good.
Ah!
She had all
Beautiful
the notes.
soprano voice. Oh, she's beautiful. She has this gorgeous. It's funny because I've only known her to sing these like beautiful lyrics, soprano stuff, and she's like, yeah. And nobody casts me as an ingenue because I am black, and they want someone to be sassy and soulful, and so that's normally what I play. And I'm like, but I mean, like, and that's great, and you should do that too, but, like, no one has heard, like, before this, no one had heard you sing lyric soprano? Like, damn, what a waste. I mean, like, my God, and she's just so sunny and, like, I don't know. Like, it was clear. It was one of those moments, again, and if you were like, Joanna is supposed to be a 15-year-old white girl with blonde, and Cammie, who walks in, who is none of those things, came in as a friggin' ray of, like, hopeful sunshine. And that's Joanna. I don't care what she looks like. She's hopeful, and she wants to escape, and she's, like, discovering who she is, and is, like, clever, and, like, happy, and scared. Who can't play that?
Yeah.
That's the character.
And I feel like it's obvious, but like the point of theater is to storytell, like to tell stories. So if you have an idea in your mind, you're only telling one story.
Mm-hmm.
You should branch out, man. Come on.
No?
Yeah.
So I want to come back to the thing where I said, like, anyone can play anything. Here's the caveat. I would never do, for example, a reboot production of an all-white Raisin in the Sun. I wouldn't do it. I would never do an all-white West Side Story. I just, or Hair. You can't, and you shouldn't.
Yeah.
So,
Those aren't our stories to tell.
no.
Yeah.
No. So, there are rules, and generally, to me, it's about opening up possibility to roles that the norm, the traditional, the unspoken language of that is usually white and cis, strictly men and women. And that to me requires a reboot, because that is not what our world looks like. It's not.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And before I want you to keep talking on this, but I just want everyone to know, please, this is also our question. We're entering into our question answer point of the evening. So Jasmine, please keep talking on all of what you're saying, because it's all so good and everyone needs to hear it. But please, anyone who's out there, we like to have questions that begin with the word how. That way we can explain them. So feel free to use the chat function. Drop some 2s in the chat if you're still with me. And Jasmine, please take it away. Jolie, if you have a question you'd like to ask, this is your moment as well.
Hit me. Let's see. There are a couple good ones on here. Like, I just like, how long have I been in the industry? I'm going to take what is my favorite reimagined role. So, for myself, when I did 1776, I played John Adams. And that is a bucket list role. I would play that role today. If anyone out there needs a John, I'm in. I don't know what it is about that arrogant jerk that I love so much, but I do. In that show. So in any case, that was my favorite reimagined role. Probably followed by a close second. I was in a production at Theater Schmeater of She Kills Monsters, which is so much fun, and I got to play Chuck because my gender is also like teenage boy. I love them. I just love, I don't know, I love playing them. And also, you know, as an older non-binary person, a lot of people who come out as trans and non-binary later in their lives, like, we didn't get an adolescence. I didn't get one. I had someone else's adolescence. And so, you know, when I first came out, God, the amount of like dopey shirts and like high tops and like teenage boy vibe was like, oh, like, God, I get to be that. I get to look however I want because I'm an adult. And so Chuck kind of gave me that freedom to be like, just like, oh, it was great. I love D&D, so it was so much fun. In terms of what I've seen, for reboot, I love all my children equally. Little Shop of Horrors, though, I was really proud of what we did. We had a trans dentist. We had a trans Seymour. We had a drag queen play Audrey. It was so good. We embodied the plant. We had a woman on stage as the plant so she could like move around. And it was so much fun. And again, it was a very traditional Little Shop, like the red cap, the Rick Moranis glasses. I mean, it looked like we ripped off, I mean, not really, sorry, no to us, but we paid homage to the classic, but we just cast whoever we wanted. And I did not hear a single complaint of anyone being like, what, a drag queen? That doesn't make sense. Like, what? Audrey's totally a drag queen. It was just perfect. And what was fun also is that we always attach a social justice, I hate to say theme because that sounds like dismissive, aspect to every show that we do. So for Sweeney, we put up some information about the Innocence Project, which helps people who have been falsely imprisoned get out of prison, so you could donate to them. And for Little Shop, we had people donate to Mary's Place because there is so much domestic violence in this very campy, funny show that, like, we didn't make funny. Like, it's supposed to be, there's the amount of jokes that people make about Audrey's black eye. Like, when you really think about it, like, that's not funny. It comes out in a sling. So, like, we had a very traditional, but then when those things happened, it was like, we had the actors, like, drop and be like, this woman is being abused. And that's not funny. So we shouldn't make that funny. So we had, like, information about that. So, like, I'm really proud of, like, that kind of redo. And the other one that I saw that is not a reboot one is I watched The Williams Project. They're so good. They're so brilliant. If you ever have a chance to watch a production by The Williams Project, you should. They did a Tennessee Williams play, and I always say it wrong. It's either Orpheus Rising or Orpheus Descending. Orpheus Descending? Descending!
They have 2 shows up on their website right now you could watch.
You can go. Orpheus Descending, they did a couple years ago, and I saw it in a black box at the back. It was, I think now it's the Cornish Playhouse, and it blew my mind. They did a Tennessee Williams play, which you could do very traditionally, and you could build a little Tennessee, or a little, southern porch, and everyone could come out in their various things and look, you could our-town it up. And that is probably how it has been done since time immemorable. And they had no set. They had 4 benches and 5 actors who played everyone. And it was brilliant. This one actor, I could not stop looking at him. He was so brilliant, and he played like the sheriff, but then he would also play like some of the like gossiping church ladies, and he literally would just like pull on a skirt or take it off and put on a hat, and it was seamless. And at no point was I confused because it was all in this actor's physicality. At intermission, they changed it to be in the round so that, like, oh my god, it was brilliant. It was brilliant, and it changed me, because I was like, if someone said Streetcar or someone said Tennessee Williams, again, what do you think of? You know exactly what it looks like. Or do you?
Jolie, what else do you have for us? That was a really great question, actually.
As in what questions, or just okay. That was just fantastic. That was amazing. But I have many. So Jasmine, how long have you been in the theater industry, and what is your favorite part about it?
Ooh.
Yeah.
I started acting when I was 8. Both my parents are actors, so I kind of just, it was around forever. My mom did soap operas in the 80s. She was nominated for a Daytime Emmy. You can look her up. It's Sharon Gabbett, Gabet. She's on IMDb. My dad's name is Larry Joshua. He's done a lot of movies. He's retired now. But they were both working actors, and so that was like that was the family business. So it's always kind of been around me. And I didn't really, I wanted to write novels. And so that eventually kind of translated into writing plays and musicals. But I always, I liked storytelling. Novels, my problem was they just took too long. And I liked writing the dialogue. I'm like, oh, well, here's a medium where that's a thing. So in any case, so that was kind of always around me. Directing, I've only kind of started getting into in the last couple of years, really since I started Reboot, because I didn't have any hoops to jump through because I run it. So there's that. I forget what the second half of that question was. When did I get started, and
what's your favorite part about it?
My favorite part? Oh my god. So, as an actor, I love exploring parts of myself through the characters that I play, because I learn something about myself every time I do it. And I love, as I mentioned, I love bits, and I love creating things with another person, and I love the liveness of it. This last year has been so painful to me, but I love the energy between you and your scene partner and the audience. And even when something goes awry and you both have that look where you're like, you both silently know there is nowhere to go. We are gonna have to figure it out, and it has already been 3 seconds, which is essentially stage death. So, I even love that stupid, my God. And as a producer and running my company, my favorite thing, what I discovered, starting with 1776, which I didn't know about myself because I had never produced anything before. I didn't know anything about it. I'm like the slughorn of theater. I don't know if the kids these days read Harry Potter still, because I know J.K. Rowling is a nightmare for them.
I know what you mean.
So, for those of you who don't know what that is, I love collecting people who are super talented and putting them in a room and giving them what they need, and then doing this. And just letting them go. Oh my God. Oh, it feels so good to be like, God, I don't know anything about set building. Who do I know? Who do I know who knows a guy who knows a guy who knows a guy? And that process to me is so fun, because then you find that person, and then you're like, okay, so I got that person. Well, I don't know anything about light. Like, I don't know anything about tech. So who am I going to... Okay, so I know a person who knows a person. Well, I was in that one show, and that lighting designer was really cool. And then you get those two people in a room, and then they start talking. And all you have to do is say, so what do you need from me? And they're like, oh, I need this and this. And you're like, great, here you go. Go ahead. And then
colliding.
beautiful. Oh, God, like the collaborative nature of theater. Like, it's so intoxicating. And it's so beautiful when you can be a part of it and when you're able to not have the ego of needing to be the solution to every problem and when you don't need to be the star of every moment. Because it's not like you've met those people. And if you haven't, unfortunately, you probably will. And they're not fun. It's, I mean, like the backstage, like the amount of people who are in blacks, like, you know, doing things that you don't even know that they're doing, so that when you have that moment of bing and the lights go and the sound goes and the thing goes, a lot of people had to make that moment so that the audience could go, ah! I love that. Love it. I'm a collaborative person, and this is the medium to do it. I mean, my God. Ooh, I love it.
That is such a wonderful note, and I'm so sad that we're at the end of time because I could just sit here and just listen to you talk about these things all day.
Shucks.
But that's such a great way to end there was a question in the chat, and I just want to point out, Jeremy, if this was you, or if you know who that was, please let us know what your question was. It started with, are there any people? ... Yes, there are.
Yes, there are.
There are indeed lots of people. So if that question comes in before we end here, but
Yeah.
that I just want to thank you both for hanging out with us today. Thank all of you who are watching today for taking the time out of this hot afternoon to sit here with us and just chill and talk about these really important aspects of our industry as we move forward. Again, I want to just reiterate what Jasmine said earlier. You, youth, actors, producers, directors, stage managers, you are all costumers, makeup designers. You are all the future of this whole industry that we've been holding up and trying to hold on to and trying to break. So just know that what we're doing and how we're moving is to open doors for you, and we hope that you continue to open those. So thank you again so much for being here. Thank you all for joining us. If you're into Fridays at the Fifth, please consider supporting it. We are committed to offering Fridays at the Fifth live for free for all of you. And in August, I'm currently planning an in-person Fridays at the Fifth, our first. However, we are still trying to keep this accessible nature. So we're hoping to plan 2 a month, which one in person for those who are able to attend and one online for those who are able to attend far and wide. Last time we had someone here from Montreal. So like, we want to bridge the gap in every aspect. So please, if you're interested and able, consider donating. You can find all of our information at fifthavenue.org. And I'm just going to shout out one more time, Jolie, Jasmine, is there anything that you want to shout out? Jasmine, you already shouted out Mary's Place, which love that organization, what they do. The Williams Project, dropped the link in the chat already. Are there any other organizations or even people in your lives you want to shout out? While you've got the stage. Stage is yours.
Okay. I would say there are, especially in the CID, there are BIPOC-led theater companies that have been here forever, and everything that I just said, I owe to people like Roger Tang and Kathy Shea, who have been here, and Valerie Curtis Newton. Like I attribute to them because I am still learning, and I am grateful to their continued leadership. So there are companies that are out of the Langston Hughes Performing Arts Center, the Hansberry Project,
Portfield Productions.
Portfield Productions, Sis Productions is Kathy Shea's company. Red Eagle Soaring is an entirely native theater company. Niles Edge, like find them. They are here. They are here, and they have been here, and they know way more than me. So, like, go to those companies, see what they're doing, because they've been putting out work. Matcha Theater Works, they promote. They're a white-led organization, but they center women's voices and women's storytellings. They just did like this incredible series of all of these 17-minute stories that were all featuring women, plenty of women of color in there, like very diverse group, just telling stories. And that, like, we need that. So, find them, support them. That keeps our ecosystem strong. It's important. It's important.
Thank you. Yes, thank you. And for those of you who are watching after the fact, after this goes off live, we will drop all the links on our website. So please feel free to visit by Monday and check out links, easy access to all of these organizations that Jasmine just mentioned.
Yeah.
Jolie, any for you?
I'm sure there are. They're all out and they're all gone. I got
It
nothing.
can be as important as your mom taking you to the beach. Shout out to your mom.
Shout out to
Shout out to
your
my
best-
dad for letting me use his office.
Shout out to your dad. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
All right. Well, thank you both. Also, I just want to remind all of us that it is time to pack your bags and join us for the 2021 Fifth Avenue Theater Road Trip, celebrating high school musicals tomorrow. Hitch a ride at 7 p.m. Saturday, June 26th for our event on the Facebook page, Fifth Avenue's Facebook page. Very excited about the accomplishments of the schools and students statewide this year, because you guys did not let the pandemic stop you. You all produced a multitude of variety of shows, a lot of which are originally written. So shout out to you. Shout out to all the teachers who held it down this year. Really appreciate all the work that everyone did to help keep our community going strong. And remember that you're not alone, despite the fact that some of us are still indoors for any and all reasons. Please just remember that you're not alone. Reach out to your strong friends. Check in with folks that you haven't seen in a while. Make sure that we uphold each other, because this is going to be another transition for all of us.
Ooh, amen.
And we want to be here on Fridays for students like you. Like I said, I'm planning next year, so please drop your suggestions for any workshops or panels you want to hear in the chat. Feel free to email me directly, A as in apple, R as in rabbit, brown like the color, at fifthavenue.org. I want to hear all your suggestions. This is a year to switch it up, change things up. We might even do a flash mob. Who knows? Let's get it together. Tell me what you want to do so we can do it already. Amazing. Thank you so much for kicking it with us. Some of you are already back in person. Others are still online doing theater. But hey, one day soon we'll be in the same room or at the same park. Remember to wash your hands, stay safe, make art, keep having real conversations about what's happening in our world, in our industry, in our country, in our communities, and keep on keeping on. We will see you next time. Panelists, feel free to video on, video off. We're going to let them trickle out. Jeremy's going to put on some music, and I'll let you know when the coast is clear. Thank you so much for being here.